All right, howdy y'all. I'm Eleanor Kennedy, the digital director of the Columbus Dispatch, and I am here with two of our journalists who can introduce themselves.
I'm Adam Cairns, photojournalist.
I'm Sheridan Hendrix, higher education reporter.
I did that because I have never known how to pronounce Adam's last name in the 2 years I've worked here. We are here to talk about Brutus Buckeye, who hopefully you've seen. Adam and Sheridan spent a year shadowing Brutus, is focusing on the 4 graduating Bruti this year, who we revealed and profiled in the Dispatch over the last few weeks. So we sought out some questions that folks had on social media and just also wanted to get some more background about the project, the adventure of this past year. So to start off with, Adam and Sheridan, can you just tell a little bit about the backstory of how this project came together?
Yeah, so this all started December of 2024. Adam and I were actually on an assignment together. We had to go wake up super early and cover tailgaters who got to Ohio Stadium before the OSU-Tennessee game during the college football playoff. So it's freezing cold. The sun has barely risen. You know, all of these Buckeye, actually not a lot of Buckeye fans at that point, some Buckeye fans, a lot of Tennessee fans, all outside waiting to get on college game day. And Brutus Buckeye jumps up on this platform and is waving a flag and, getting everyone excited. So I, snapped a selfie with him, and it occurred to me there's a student inside this costume who had to do the exact same thing that Adam and I did. Wake up super early, get dressed for work, go stand out in the cold. So it just kind of stuck with me. I was like, all right, that's not why I'm here today, but I want to think about that more. And then a few months later, I was at an Ohio State Board of Trustees meeting, and head coach Ray Sharp showed up with 2 of the previous year's seniors. And they were talking about this national championship that they had just won with the dance and cheer teams. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a Brutus Buckeye out of costume. This is crazy to me. So I called Ray up a couple days later and told him, hey, I would really love to do a day in the life with Brutus. And he immediately said no, which, as we've reported the story, makes a lot of sense now, because he was like, logistically, I just don't know how you would do it, because we don't reveal who these students are. We have a lot of folks on the team that aren't always in the costume, so I don't know how you would even go about getting photos or videos or capturing any of this. We really only let the seniors reveal who they are after they've graduated, so, I just don't think it's going to happen. I was like, I totally hear you. I get the constraints of it, but you guys do so much for this university. You guys just won a national championship. You gotta get your flowers somehow. And I would love to show some of what it takes to really do this work as a team. So I was like, instead of doing a day in the life, what if instead I followed you guys for a whole year and only named the seniors after they graduated, if they were, game to participate with us. And he was like, now that we could make work. So from there it really took off, and spent an entire year hanging in 12
full months.
Yeah. With Brutus and the Ohio State students that portray him.
Yeah. And so what surprised you the most about the experience, or anything that was not what you expected it to be when you went into it?
I think the amount of work that goes into being a mascot it's through the roof. I had no idea these guys are, and women, these guys are college athletes. They train with the basketball strength and conditioning coach. They are up 6 a.m. running steps at Ohio Stadium. They're lifting weights. They're physically as fit as you could possibly be as a college student who has to wear this 10-pound head. And Sheridan got into it in our stories about the physical toll that takes on your body. So these guys are in peak shape to be able to do everything that is asked of Brutus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to add to that, I think the amount of improv training was really impressive to me. I went to mascot camp over the summer, which was one of our first stories in the series, and I was just surprised by how much of the activities and the training that they were doing were solely based on improv. What should you do if you have a little old lady coming up to you and wants to take a picture? What should you do if you have a terrible child that's trying to punch you in the head? And, what happens if drunk fans come up to you? How do you navigate these situations while staying in character, while being lighthearted, while still representing your university, and trying to figure out how do you get through this? So a lot of it is just yes and your way through life. And I was really surprised by how much they really had to learn and train to be good improv.
And they are comedians too. They're hilarious guys. They're mascots in and out of suit. So when you see these guys just in their normal lives, you can tell they're Brutus also, because they just have this sort of bubbly, hilarious personality that it's just, you're drawn in by them.
Yeah. So I want folks to read the whole series, but just the basics. How many Bruti are there? Who did we follow? And then we'll go into some of the questions that folks sent in.
So this year there were 9 Bruti on the team, which might seem like a lot, but oh my gosh, they are doing activities and events every day of the week. So they really need a full team to make sure that they are being staffed and that people are, that people want Brutus to show up at stuff, so they need Brutus's
500 events.
Yeah.
500 events Brutus
not
attended
including
during
football and basketball.
Yeah.
So we followed 4 seniors, Tyler Wisman, Caleb Keys, Kurt Steelman, and Jeff Moody. And there were some other individuals on the team who we would love to write about in the future, so stay tuned, keep following along. But those were the 4 guys that we got to hang out with and name in this series.
And then this was actually a complaint that we got on social media that I will respond to, is we did show photos of those 4 guys in the costume but without the head on. Can you talk a little bit about some of the restrictions that we had to just peel back the curtain on the reporting and how you approached that?
This was way more challenging for Adam than for me.
Sheridan could write all she wanted, but there was a lot I could not take pictures of. There were a lot of pictures I took that I couldn't use. Just because you would see an underclassman in the background that I just didn't notice while I was taking the photo. I worked as close as I could with the mascot coach to be able to show as much as I could, but understandably, he did not want to sort of kill the magic of Brutus. And I tried to be as absolutely respectful as I could with some of the pictures of the Bruti without the heads on. Some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that you saw, I think was telling and revealing, but not in a distasteful way. So I feel like I probably towed the line a little bit, but there were some pictures where I would send it to Ray, their coach, and I'd be like, "Hey, can we use this?" And he'd get back to me. He's like, "No, that's not the direction we're looking to go." And I was like, "I get it. It's fine." So we deferred to them. They gave us all the access in the world. And so I wanted to be respectful of that, which isn't something we always get at the newspaper. Access is, it's hard to come by for a lot of stories. So having that kind of access, I wanted to make sure we didn't lose his trust. And I think we did a really good job of relating to the team. They liked having us around. The underclassmen were super disappointed when we told them that we could only show the seniors. So that's why they're pushing for us to do more stories in the future so they can get their time in the spotlight, which I think is important for these guys because they spend so much of their time under the Brutus head that you don't know who they are as people. And I think Sheridan stories and those photos really show who these guys are, and they don't always get that kind of attention.
Well, and let's talk about that secrecy. So we were just talking before we started recording that it has not always been such a closely guarded secret. Can you, Sheridan, just kind of sum up why they keep their identities a secret, how they do it, sort of how that all works?
Yeah, so really within the last 10 years or so, the Brutus Buckeye mascot team has really, I would say, become more a professional operation. Before Coach Ray and assistant coach Tim Thiel showed up, it was really the cheer coach kind of oversaw it. Brutus alumni came to help out, but it was not as organized as it is today. So people tried to keep it a secret to keep some of that magic alive, but Brutus team members were in the football programs, without the costume on, and their names and their pictures were there. So if someone was sharp enough to try to figure out who was on the team, you could figure it out. But over time, as these mascots' national notoriety has raised, they really try to keep it under wraps, largely for student safety. Not every school is like Ohio State. Not every school has 9+ mascots on your team. Sometimes it's 1 or 2, students. So you don't want to be, singling out a couple of students on campus who, maybe you didn't like something that they did on the field on Saturday, or maybe, they were goofy with you and you didn't appreciate it. Like, you don't want to single those students out. What Ray told us is that also a lot of it was this incident that happened 15 years ago. Between OU's mascot, Rufus the Bobcat, versus Ohio State's mascot, Brutus. There was a little kerfuffle on the field. Rufus took down Brutus, and it kind of became this, national news moment. So a lot of, news organizations, the Dispatch, the Lantern at Ohio State, ESPN, everyone's trying to reach out to who Brutus is. And the university's like, we got to keep this under wraps. So that was also a big part of it, of we just need to try to keep this as secretive as possible to protect the students, let them live their lives as students and as student athletes, and then they can have all the glory after they graduate.
Yeah, that was one question we got on YouTube, is why are we not writing about Rufus versus Brutus? But we did. We will link it. I'm going to be like a TikToker.
And Rufus wouldn't talk. For the record, we sat down with the Brutus that was in suit that day. He told us the whole story from his perspective. We reached out to Rufus. Rufus wouldn't talk.
Nice. Keeping quiet. All right, we're into some of the nitty gritty now. How do the Bruti see out of the head?
So it is very narrow.
It's just the mouth.
It's just the mouth. So the mouth is where their eyes are.
It's just the mouth. It's about this big. It's a mesh screen, so there's very little peripheral vision. They're constantly bouncing their head around, and I think part of that is just so that they can see who's beside them. It is very, very restrictive to try to look through just this little.
Did you guys
mouth.
get to try on the heads?
That's between us and God.
Oh, okay.
But that was one thing that we talked about at mascot camp a lot was, the anatomy of your mascot. Every mascot head is a little bit different, and every costume is different. So, one of the things that they talked about is look with your mascot eyes, not with your eyes. I think about Herky the Hawkeye at the University of Iowa. He's got a beak right in between his mouth, and the mascot has to be able to look out of either side of it. Vision is totally obstructed. So yeah, it definitely takes some time to get used to, you only have this much space to look through, and you got nothing to help you out on the sides.
And I thought that was a fun part of tryouts was they had the new guys, they said, okay, Brutus, cover your ears. And so these guys had to go and try to find their ears. And they said, okay, Brutus, cover your eyes. And so, covering my eyes is here, but covering Brutus's eyes is way up here. So the awareness of the way Brutus's head is shaped is a big part of learning how to be the mascot. So they do the eyebrow flick, and so those moves are signature moves that they train over and over and over how to get them done. So that was pretty cool to see.
Do you guys know that this is not on my list of questions? It's a surprise. What is the origin of this thing? Why did they do that?
I actually don't know the origin of it, but every mascot has their own signature move. So at some point along the line, the headbang became Brutus's thing.
And it is, you can see there's indentations in all the Brutus heads.
Oh, really? From where
all the heads are different.
Yeah.
And that's actually an interesting tidbit too. You can if you see them side by side, you can see the differences. You don't notice from one day to the next, depending on who's in the suit. But there's little indentations. So from doing the head bang, that just over time wear into the Brutus
cute.
head.
Do they get to keep their head when they graduate, or do they give it back?
They pass it along to the next generation.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Speaking of the head, how much does it weigh?
It's about 10 pounds. So it is a lacrosse helmet with the mascot structure on the outside. So it is heavy.
And they have a chin strap on the inside to keep it attached to their head. We followed one of the seniors to his sort of a chiropractic appointment, and he needed a lot of treatment on neck and shoulders. So just from three full years as Brutus doing all the moves, it took its toll on his upper body, having an extra 10 pounds on top of the human head.
Yeah.
Weight.
What about climate control? I think we all can think about mascots getting hot, but we were talking about before this too about them getting cold. So how do they stay comfortable in the suit?
Yeah, so when it gets really hot, a lot of it is making sure that you're taking breaks and staying hydrated. There is no fan inside of Brutus's head. Some of the larger professional mascots, they are trying to figure out ventilation inside of that. But for Brutus, it is literally just making sure that you are constantly taking breaks if it is hot. Communicating with your teammates, saying hey, I got to go sit down for a second because I am dripping sweat, and I need to get some water in here. They are they have shoulder pads on. They're wearing a rugby shirt. Some of the older rugby shirts, from 10 years ago, I mean, these are not Nike dry fits. These were heavy, thick rugby shirts. So you see pictures of some of the, Bruti from the early 2000s, and they are just dripping in sweat in the middle of, games in August and early September because it is just, you are really working your body.
And it doesn't take long. So
No.
Sometimes there's a half an hour with Brutus in suit, and he will take a break and he'll take the head off. And even not at a football event or an outdoor event. So we covered something at the RPAC where they were just packing meals. Brutus took his head off, and I mean, he was just dripping in sweat just from 30 minutes of having it on. And so they try to keep their events to 30 minutes. There's always a handler with Brutus that is looking out for him, that can pull him out of the room and say, hey guys, Brutus needs to take a break for a little bit. And so Brutus can leave the room, go to a secure room somewhere, take his head off for a little bit and rest. So that's part of their safety, is having a second team member with them at all times.
How many of them are active for football, home football games? Is it still just 2 for those? Or so every football game there's 2 Brutuses.
Yeah, working. So they switch out first half and second half. And a lot of it is because it gets so high, because they're working their bodies so much. I mentioned this in the story, but Ray was telling us about this group of kinesiology students, several years ago that wanted to study how much energy is Brutus expending during a football game. So they put one of those polar bands on him and, tracking how many calories he was burning. And when they got the data back, they thought that the polar band was broken because Brutus had burned 2 days worth of calories in this however long hour or two that he was in the suit. So you are really hustling in it.
And they had other data to compare to. So I mean, all of the Ohio State athletes wear these when they train and when they compete. They kind of look like sports bras that have a built-in band. And so they literally compared Brutus data with every other sport that they had data for, and Brutus was off the charts higher than every other athlete that they had data for.
That's crazy. All right. How have there been women who have played the role of Brutus?
Yes, there have only been 4 women who've played the role of Brutus over time. Potentially the most famous was last year. Emily Hayward made this incredible reveal video. Reveal videos are newer for at least Ohio State's mascots, partly because of that secrecy. Bruti have always revealed themselves at graduation. They often wear Brutus's cap on top of their graduation caps. But, in the age of social media, they're getting out there, they're trying to show off. So Emily made this really awesome video of her as Brutus, walking up the, kind of running up, headbanging up the ramp in Ohio Stadium, and then crossed outside, and she's in her graduation gear with Brutus's shirt on. So that definitely gained a lot of traction and got people really interested in oh my gosh, Brutus was a lady? This is incredible. So, and we were talking earlier, there have been so many women in this space of college mascotting that it's really impressive to see.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, Brutus's creator, Sally
Lanyon.
So Brutus's roots are female.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my sorority sister. She's a high-five.
And I will add, there was a female Brutus for maybe just 1 year. Had it looked like a giant strawberry costume.
Oh, Lady
it almost
Brutus.
it had the little ruffles around the neck, but they tried a few things over the years to change Brutus's appearance. He started out as just a kind of giant papier-mâché nut. more human-like for a while. There was a very creepy-looking Popeye.
I don't like Popeye Brutus.
Popeye Brutus for a year. Not even a whole year, I don't think.
They got rid of that
halfway
so
through
fast.
football season, it just creeped everybody out. So Brutus has morphed over the years, and so a lot of schools do male and female mascots. I don't know if that's something that Ohio State would ever consider, but Brutus does have female roots as far as that goes.
Yeah. All right. The last question we have from our social media followers is a robust one, I guess. But what is the mission of Brutus?
The mission of Brutus, it's funny, we asked all of the seniors and the coaches to say, finish the sentence, Brutus is. And everyone has a very similar answer. It's like, Brutus is the kindest jock you're ever going to meet. He is funny, he is creative, he is outgoing and kind, and all of these things are encapsulated into this one anthropomorphic nut. So his mission, I would say, is really to embody the spirit of Ohio State and to bring joy, which I think after following this team for a year, they take it really seriously and they do it very well.
Success with me brought me joy every time I got to hang out with him. She nailed the definition. Anybody that sees Brutus is happier. Nobody who's having a bad day, if they encounter Brutus, you can see him walking through campus, and people just light up anytime they see him out in public. So he definitely makes people's day and makes people happy and brings joy to everybody that encounters him.
I felt like we were following a celebrity, when we would walk around on campus with him. And there was this one moment that didn't make it into the story just because there was no real place for it. But because they are student athletes, they do have to adhere to NCAA standards. So all of the team had to go do a sports gambling information session to learn, don't gamble, don't bet on sports while you're a student athlete. And it was run by 2 FBI agents. So everyone was kind of these guys are going to be real buttoned up, serious guys. And one of the guys that walked in was I have wanted to come do this session for Brutus Buckeye because I was a college mascot.
Oh.
I was Freddie Falcon at Bowling Green State University, and all the guys were talons up. There's this real camaraderie, but even for this former college mascot, this FBI agent, he was I gotta take the Brutus assignment.
Yeah.
That is what I want to do because these guys are just so iconic.
Awesome. Well, I hope that everybody checks out the full series. You can find it all at dispatch.com/Brutus. Lots of content to dive into. We've got profiles of the 4 seniors. We've got a couple great videos from Adam, lots of great stories from Sheridan. So be sure you read it. And thanks for spending some time with us.
Be sure and subscribe to the Buckeye Extra podcast in the iTunes Store, the Google Play Store, or on Stitcher.